Welcome, Big 12 football fans. As always, I'm your host, Bryce Petty, and I'm here with my good friend Trevor Knight. How are you, brother?
I'm doing okay. If you guys can see my shirt, you're watching the video copy. Yes, Baylor beat Oklahoma.
Chick-fil-A.
Paid up. Bryce has enjoyed himself a nice chicken deluxe meal with cheese and tomatoes and lettuce, all on his
Because I'm healthy.
Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich, and I am sporting the disgusting colors of green and gold. Rough day for me, but an awesome weekend as a whole in the Big 12. I want to give a shout-out really quick. I know he doesn't want me to do this, but to my esteemed colleague, Mr. Bryce Petty. He was down. He was the luck this weekend in Waco, Texas. He was down there getting honored as a legend, the Legends Award at Baylor University. Got to say a few words on the mic at McLean Stadium.
Little stadium yell action.
Give a little sick 'em Bears action. Pretty cool. Honored for his accomplishments back in the day. Now he's talking about it. Now he is talking about the game that he once was so very talented at. And
cheers, brother.
Cheers,
Thank
brother.
You.
Yeah,
you didn't have to do that.
really cool.
Thank you.
We all look up to you at night, and that's why I'm wearing this shirt
Dang
for
right.
nobody else but you. But with that being said, I was upset. I still am upset as an Oklahoma guy. Just like every other week.
You've known this was coming.
This is where we're going to start.
Yep.
Oklahoma goes on the road to Waco, McLean Stadium, to take on the Baylor Bears. Everybody thought, not as appetizing. Baylor coming off the loss to TCU the week before. Still huge game in terms of Big 12 title implications. And the Baylor Bears took it to the Oklahoma Sooners essentially from start to finish, right? Oklahoma jumped out with a quick touchdown to take the initial lead, and then it was nothing but green and gold from that point on. Bryce, give us your thoughts on your Baylor Bears.
Oh, I thought it was a great game. I thought, and especially because we particularly talked about Baylor coming off of what was a trap game or whatever you want to call it. I don't think it was a trap game. I don't think they thought it was a trap game. They just didn't play well. That and aside, we were welcome to Chandler Morris and what he could do. But all that aside, they had what Aranda said was the best week of practice coming off of, a guy, Joey McGuire, Coach McGuire, taking the Tech job. Which I think kind of rumbled, in terms of internally that locker room a little bit. I mean, he's a glue. Recruited a lot of those guys. Is such a culture guy. We talked about that's why he was a great hire for Tech at Lubbock, and is going to go on to do great things there. But still, in the way that it happened with 2 games left, what could be a Big 12 championship, maybe possibly down the road, it shook him a little bit. So. I was happy to hear that, Coach Aranda had talked about how great that practice week, and you and I know, especially coming off losses, man, it's not that you have the loss, it's how you respond.
Yep.
Right? And that's what I love about football. I love about the game. It's because it doesn't teach you that life sucks and it won't go your way. It teaches you how to, to change and adjust and to keep going. And so these guys, same way, that happened in Oklahoma State, competitive maturity, had a bad loss at TCU. Everybody knows it. Gary Bohannon didn't play well. Defense didn't play well. Now you have OU in the show coming into town. Big 12, or not Big 12, but Big Noon kickoff. All the hype. And Baylor answered the call.
They did.
And real quick, just diving into the game, the line of scrimmage was dominated by Baylor.
Wasn't even close.
Dominated.
Was not even close. I would say all 3 phases of the game, start to finish, was dominated. It really was never one of those games where you could say, okay, they're neck and neck for a quarter or 2 quarters or into the second half and somebody pulls away. It was Baylor all day long. And I'll tell you this, as an Oklahoma fan myself and watching the game, you said it when we were talking before the show, Bryce, they did not get off the bus. And that scares me culturally. We've talked about Dave Aranda and what he has done culturally in that locker room to be able to respond after the Oklahoma State loss, to be able to respond after the TCU loss and come out and put their best foot forward. Oklahoma really hasn't played well, right? Yes, my argument has been they're undefeated. They're undefeated. They're finding a way to win. But when you can't show up in games like this, there's something wrong.
Yep.
Do they still have a shot to go play for the Big 12 title, get number 7? Absolutely they do. But based on the way that they're playing, and especially in big games like that, it doesn't give me as much confidence as it did in years past.
And I think we've seen that the whole year. They just, to your point, found a way to win because it's been a subpar team. Baylor is not a subpar team. Iowa State, I don't think, even though the record doesn't really show it or reflect it, is a subpar team. And Oklahoma State is definitely not a subpar team. Mm-hmm. So you have a front-end loaded schedule with, again, not the best talent from the conference and or even out of the conference. And now you have these 3 games left to play for a Big 12 championship. So this is where Lincoln Riley earns that big old fat paycheck. One, just pick a quarterback, please. Like it's getting really frustrating at this point.
Let's talk about that in this game specifically. What did you see out of Caleb Williams? Riley makes the decision, whether it was for his hand or not, which he said it wasn't for his hand,
right? To
switch to Spencer Rattler to hopefully provide a spark, as what he says. Then goes back to Caleb Williams at the end of the game. What was this horrible management from a coaching standpoint? Would you have done the same thing to provide a spark? I mean, what are your thoughts there? And give it to our audience in terms of you as a quarterback. If you were on that, if you were Caleb Williams or you were Spencer Rattler, how does that affect you mentally? And do you go into a game knowing, hey, it's, I got to perform or somebody's going to come up behind me?
And that's the whole thing, right? You got to know that the guy driving the ship believes in you. Caleb Williams is a freshman, was playing high school last year. How in the world do you get put in against Texas? Huge, huge game for you, the rivalry, the whole thing. Brings you back, creates that spark like 4 weeks ago, has done it against Kansas, and has continually gotten better week in and week out. And then has one game where and what we talked about, this is going to be the game where they finally get punched in the face. Baylor's defense is really, really good. Create havoc up front. Their back end might be some of the best back end that I've seen in the Big 12. Truly. They are really, really good. And I know they gave up, close to 500 yards against TCU, which is what it is. But this was going to be a game where Caleb was going to have to grow up on the road. Tough environment. We had a whole lot to play for. We've had OU circled up. Believe in the kid. Let the kid learn. Yeah. What do you learn by pulling him out and saying, hey, if you're not providing a spark for us, which is like such a term that's like thrown loosely, but spark for what? Like you guys are on as a team getting your butt kicked, ass kicked, right? I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it. You're getting your ass kicked. No one's going to provide a spark outside of the guy that you put in 4 weeks ago to provide a spark. So just stay with it. So I don't agree with this. I don't like it. Player, coach doesn't matter. Me sitting here, Monday morning couch quarterback, believe in the guy and just make a decision and go with it. You made the decision for a reason. Believe it and go.
Yeah, I first of all, I absolutely agree with you. I thought it was a pretty tough look to watch him switch and then even switch back.
Right.
Like, it's almost desperation. What that hurts me in my heart is, as a quarterback, specifically as a quarterback, it is such a mental game. And that if the head guy, to your point, believes in you, you can go play with confidence. Look at Andy Reid, the confidence that he instills in Pat Mahomes. Yeah, I know that they've had a tough year, but still, just Pat Mahomes and what he's been able to do, right? Look at Lincoln when he had Baker there and all these different quarterbacks. Confidence is the most important thing at that position. When you bring somebody else in to provide a spark, you have now told your starter, I don't believe in you, and if you make mistakes, you're going to get benched.
Yeah.
How can you go out there and play loose and free if you know that's – I've been there. I've been in this situation. Hey, Trevor, if you make a mistake, Blake's right behind you. Guess what? Made a mistake. Blake went in, played for 5 games. I ended up having to, beat him back out to win the job over. That was Blake Bell back in 2013. Baker comes in, spring ball. I know he's not going to start this next year. Hey, this kid behind you, he's kind of pushing you. You better keep playing good, or he's going to be the guy.
Those are the conversations that were happening?
not actually out loud, but
right,
it's
right.
that you can feel that from your head guy, right? And this is nothing against the head guys I played for. My career turned out exactly like it should have. It was amazing. But just from a headspace standpoint, it is tough to be in that position. And it was tough to watch this Saturday, watching Lincoln go back and forth and back to Caleb Williams there at the end of the game. It's just I get it. It is, you're trying to win a football game. You're not playing well. You're doing anything you can to scratch and claw to get a W, but now on the back end of it, it's just a bad look, and you've got to go and kind of tape up some of those wounds going into the rest of this season, where not all your goals, playoffs out of there for now, but your goals to go win another Big 12 title are still in front of you, and you got to lick those wounds and try and get your quarterback confident again to go have a stretch here.
Yeah. I agree. And again, developmentally, okay, as a young kid, it is one thing to make mistakes from a schematic standpoint, meaning your X's and O's aren't right. You're not putting together, a specific game plan, or not that you're not putting together a game plan. You're not executing the game plan the right way. Caleb Williams was having a rough day throwing the ball.
Yeah.
Overthrew several people, was missing guys. And so if you do, again, have a game like that, which you will have, you got to know that your guy's behind you and saying, hey, get your ass in gear, let's go.
Dude, get him out of the pocket. Get him a couple hitch completions. Get some confidence under him. Run the ball. Do something. Hey, pick him up on the sideline. Yeah, I'm with you. It was a bad look. I hope that whoever the starter is going into next week, I would assume it's Caleb Williams, is they're having a good talking to this morning, tomorrow, throughout the week to get him back going. So
I agree.
Baylor prevails. Congratulations to Baylor, a massive win, knocking off undefeated Oklahoma, putting themselves in a position to still make a run at the Big 12 title.
And if I can, I got to say, two things. One, shout out to the Baylor defense, because this is the lowest point total and the lowest yards per game that Lincoln Riley's ever had, even as an OC.
Wow.
At OU,
yeah,
which is pretty crazy. And then two, dude, if you don't like the way that guys win, then win. Don't lose. Don't lose. If you're going to sit there and be upset at the way that I kick a field goal for a tie, which, by the way, is part of the rules on the tiebreaker, doesn't really matter. If you don't like the way that I win, then don't lose. That's all I got to say.